Here we have the latest release from the geniuses at Pittsburgh Modular. It's the Lifeforms SV-2, and what a beauty it is. It takes the form factor of the Tiger keys and has morphed it into an East Coast monster, and I'm sure a future classic. It's the follow-up to the SV-1, which came out the best part of a decade ago and quietly became one of their most popular synths ever. And this isn't a facelift, it's a complete rebuild. If you missed the original SV-1, it was a semi-modular voice in a Eurorack panel. You could drop it in a case or get it as this, a lovely, complete little East Coast voice. And that was followed by this, the SV-1B in 2020, which was essentially the same synth, but it had a better behaved oscillator core and a pile of stability tweaks. And a new paint job, same layout, same features. So this, the SV-2, is the actual sequel because it's a different animal altogether. It's now a proper standalone instrument, a full-size keybed with aftertouch, 37 keys, picture mod wheels, proper 5-pin MIDI in and USB of course, and a stereo 1/4-inch out on the back. And under the hood, nearly everything's been doubled or upgraded. Where the SV-1 had one filter, you've now got two of their lovely state variable filters with 6 response modes each, overdrive, a new thing called filter character that I'll go into later. We've got 2 ADSRs, the oscillators get thru-zero FM and phase modulation, auto-tuning and MIDI pitch tracking. And the 2 LFOs now track volt per octave and run all the way up to audio rate. So essentially we've got a couple of extra oscillators here. And that means you can do things like this next little demo I've got coming up, where I've used the LFOs as oscillators. So I've got 4 oscillators, the LFOs in audio rate, and I've detuned each of the oscillators to give myself a chord, and then I'm playing that chord. And if you saw my Artemis video, I did something similar where I did like a classical music study, but instead of exploring a scale, for example, we've explored the patch. So I threw on some sparse beats onto it and it was so nice. I've even gone a little bit further and added the vocal as well. So it's a bit odd because you can't hear the synth as well as you wanted you to, but actually it does really show that if you've got a really nice sounding bit of kit, that's all you need. So it's just one chord progression plus some beats and a vocal, no other bits. At the very start, actually, there's a little melodic line I put in, then I decided actually I'm not going to continue that all the way through. It's just nice as it is. A nice sounding bit of kit means you can do much sparser, easier arrangements. Anyway, take a listen. It's not 7 minutes, this one. It's about 3 minutes, so it's not too long.
With a glimpse of the sun, just watching everything keep moving on. Watch it go by and by and by, by and by and by. I hear 100 different voices I'll never know. See a million little moments as they rise and fall. They pass by and by and by, by and by and by. And this city, still so pretty. The noise felt quiet, the green came back. Now people walk where there once were tracks. Cause nothing stays empty, nothing stays still. Something blooms every space we fill with life forms. All of these life forms, yeah. All of these life forms. In this city, still so pretty. Here today Pittsburgh, yeah, here today in Pittsburgh. In this city, still so pretty. Here today in Pittsburgh, yeah, here today in Pittsburgh. still so pretty. Here today in Pittsburgh, yeah. Here today in Pittsburgh.
Quite nice, wasn't it? I hope it didn't annoy anyone too much by putting the vocal over the top, but it just really suited it. Anyway, I did forget to mention this little bay down here, and on the track I was using that for the additional LFO, because obviously the LFOs were being used as oscillators. So I was using the Erica Synths envelope as an LFO, so sending a trigger in, and I was using this for the timing. This is the metronome, or the symmetric gnome 2 it's called now. So I was using this for the timing of the track, and I also used it for the gating on this envelope, so I could use it like an LFO, so it could trigger in time. I did try using the clock input over here, this clock input on the top left, and then use that to trigger the disting, but the disting kept on going slightly out of time. I think that was a disting issue, not a clock issue. Yeah, but this little bay over here is really handy. I've stuck a different reverb in because this has got a spring reverb and it's not ideal for everything, the spring reverb. I'll play it in a minute. It's got a really nice character to it, but sometimes you want something different, big and stereo. And of course the disting's really handy because obviously it's about 1,000 different units in one. So like here, if there's something that you're missing, you can just bring it in over there. So yeah, very much like the Tiger, and a very, very clever little bit of inspired design that is. But again, like the Tiger, if you do know that, this will be very, very familiar to you. The patch points up here. So the semi-modular connections are labeled with little arrows. Everything in blue is an input. Everything in white is an output. So for the LFOs, for example, we've got a triangle, we've got a ramp, we've got a square, and we've got I was going to say another triangle, but that's the triangle for LFO 2. One's a ramp, one's a sawtooth. For the oscillators, we've got inputs for pitch, sync, thru-zero FM, phase modulation, and pulse, symmetry, and blade shape. And we'll take a look at what they are in a minute. But I'm not going to go through absolutely everything we've got in here because that would take far too long. But we've got inputs for each of the 4 channels on the mixer. We've got the preamp input. This preamp goes up to 30 times gain. We've got inputs for the CVs on the filter. This is normals to LFO 1, ADSR 1, LFO 1, ADSR 1. But obviously, like with that last demo, you don't have to use LFO 1 and ADSR 1. The ADSRs are normal to the filter frequencies and to the VCA. We've got 2 VCAs down here, ADSR 1, ADSR 2. And then we've got the control section on the left-hand side as well. And this is where we've got the arpeggiator, the sequencer, we've got the different clock modes. Oh, and I've not shown yet, we've got monophonic, polyphonic, or paraphonic modes. And again, everything works in exactly the same way as the Tiger does. So things like the clock, we've got different modes here. So hit edit. Anything in blue is an edit function. Hit the clock. We've got different modes there. So MIDI input, external input, an upside down person. That's a random input, up to 90% randomization on the clock time. And then we've got the tap tempo as well. So tap tempo. And everything over there works in a combination of those buttons. So arpeggiator on, put it on hold. Transpose mode is on, that starts flashing. Down here, we've got the pitch and the mod wheels and this multifunction tool. And this is a really powerful tool. So we can send a constant voltage, an LFO, an envelope, or a random, like a sample and hold. And the shape of the envelopes and the LFOs and what's going to the sample and hold is set by this. We set the amount of modulation, just like you would with a mod wheel. But you can set the rate of the LFO and the envelope by holding multifunction and moving the mod wheel. We do actually have then an additional LFO and an additional envelope, or one or the other, if we need them. So in that track where I brought the LFO in from the Erica Synths module, I could have used the LFO from this. However, I couldn't get it in time. I couldn't clock that LFO precisely like I did using the Gnome and the Erica Synths module. And the CV for that comes out of the multi output here, and that's next to the CC output, and you're not reading that wrong. That does say CC. It will convert a MIDI CC value or a MIDI CC parameter into voltage. So you can use this as a MIDI to CC converter. So again, for that demo, another option for the LFO would have been using an LFO in the door and bring it out up here. And while we're talking about LFOs, let's just take a look at them quickly here. LFO 1 range, so that's now in high frequency mode, or LFO 2 frequency range, that's now in high mode. We've also got 2 pitches out for oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, or your 2 notes in your duophonic or polyphonic mode, and we've got 2 gate outputs as well. And I'm not sure whether to demo exactly how absolutely everything works on this, because that would take hours, because there's so much in here. But what is really interesting is the amount of gain and distortion we've got. This is the nice little demo setup to show you the different saturation, gain, drive, and character circuits using a big fat bass tone that's actually split into stereo. So oscillator 1 is going through filter 1, oscillator 2 is going through filter 2, and they're split to the left and right, plus there's some reverb in here as well that I can add with these 2 channels here. And if you've not plugged your big speakers in yet, I strongly advise you to do so, because this gets absolutely monstrous. So we start off relatively clean. I'll just turn those down. So nice big fat tone to start off with. Add a bit more gain. Some resonance. Bit more envelope. Just got to keep an eye on these levels. So let's add some drive. So we'll increase the drive, which increases the gain. Much bigger already. Let's add these mixed saturations. And drop that down a bit because it's getting crispy. Bit more resonance maybe. Change the character. And again. So fat. Even dropping it down to here. Nice, fat, big and wide. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Let's go to the clean character. Drop the reso down. Take the mix saturation out. Everything I do just sounds beautiful. That drive off. Okay, hopefully that's all given you a good idea about what this can do in the range. Let's start taking a look at some of the bits in more detail, shall we? And we'll start off with the oscillators. We've got 2 identical oscillators here. We've got 5 different wave shapes. We've got sine, triangle, sawtooth. Then we've got this thing called a blade. So that moves from like a sawtooth to a jaggedy sawtooth to a pulse. And that can be modulated down here. We're modulating that with LFO1. This one's hardwired to LFO1, so the blade shape or the pulse width's hardwired to LFO1, but you can obviously patch in whatever you like up on the top here. And we've got frequency and phase modulation on this knob here. Again, it's the same on LFO2. This one's patched internally to LFO2, and this one's patched to LFO1. And the FM you can patch in at the top. But let's stick with the wave shapes for now. We'll go to the pulse. And obviously PWM. If we just take a look at this pulse symmetry, in fact, it gives you like a stepped wave. So you can get lots of different harmonics out of this. So we bring in PWM. A nice range of tones you can get from that, and obviously you can modulate the pulse symmetry with the LFO as well. Well, let's put it onto LFO1 triangle into the symmetry of oscillator 1. Take that out. You get an additional harmonic in there. It sounds almost like there's another oscillator. In fact, let's try it with LFO2 at a different rate. Yeah, I'm just trying to show you really that there's lots of ways of manipulating the basic tones. So we'll try a little bit of FM, shall we? We'll put it onto a sawtooth. And the oscillators can go down into LFO rates. So if I take MIDI control off, so edit and wave, so it's blue, so it's an edit function. And now oscillator 2's rate is independent of the keyboard. We're listening to oscillator 1, by the way, not oscillator 2. This is normal to the sine at the minute. But if we put another wave shape in, so let's modulate the FM with the wave, and the wave will be, let's put it onto a sawtooth. Again, just trying to give you a flavor of what you can do. So there's plenty going on in this, isn't there? I've not mentioned yet that we've got a sub-oscillator and noise. We've got subs at -1 octave and -2 octaves, and -1 is pre-patched into channel 2 of the mixer. So and that's just a gorgeous tone. Just that sawtooth and that sub's absolutely lovely. When I first got this, I just played with this for hours. just got such a rich, mellifluous tone. Bring in some noise just so that you've heard it. So that really brings us over to this mixer. So we've got 4 channels on the mixer plus a preamp. So channel 3 is oscillator 2. Let's put it back onto MIDI. So this preamp down here gives us up to 30 times gain, and that is pre-patched into the mixer. If we look up here, we can see the preamp out into the mix. So we've got channel 1, 2, 3, 4 plus the preamp goes into the mixer output. And obviously we can use external signals for that preamp, or we can use stuff on board. Let's try putting oscillator 2's sine into the preamp. So we're listening to the sawtooth, and the sine should now be coming through as well. Turn it down a bit. So you could actually have a 5 oscillator tone. You could do that track I did earlier that's got 4 oscillators in and bring a sub in or something like that. Just bring it in via the preamp. And it's called a dual mixer because we've got 2 main channels, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 on the pre. And we can turn mix saturation on to either of those channels. So let's put it onto 1 and 2. Let's turn these down for now. And you can see that's doing things on the oscilloscope. We put it onto a sine. You can really hear it as well, can't you? But that's really nice, that, isn't it? Just on its own, that sine. You won't hear anything with no big speakers or decent headphones, though. All those different wave shapes you're getting from that, that's quite incredible, isn't it? Let's go for some more options. Again, I'm showing the flexibility of the raw wave shapes. We haven't just got a sine, a triangle, and a pulse here. And of course, we've got this on 3 and 4 as well. Oh, 3 and 4, yeah, it's blue, so it's an edit function. So let's bring them all in, see what happens. Let's take the noise out. Maybe put this onto the blade as well. Fabulous, isn't it? Should we move over to the filters now? 2 identical filters. We've got multi-modes, we've got low pass, band pass, high pass, and mixtures of both. So just sticking with this tone for now. So change the response. Low pass and band pass. Band pass. Band pass and high pass. And then just high pass. So that's some resonance. 2 2 And go back down to oh, we got like a notch there as well. At least I think that's what it's doing. We've also got a random mode. So when they're all lit, it's randomly selecting which mode it's in. Let's just bring it back to a simple sawtooth, take the mix saturation off. I want to show you this gain now. So this gain, it is 1.5 times. And then edit and drive. Now makes it up to 5.5 times. So let's just turn that down a bit. So again, more wave manipulation. Put the mix saturation on as well. And then we've got these characters. So there's no character on at the minute. And these are what you heard in that distortion demo, but I just want to show you them in a little bit more detail. This first one is rectified. Let's turn the mix saturation off so we can hear it. And the second is warped and rectified. So if we turn them, cycle through them, it'll randomly select them with every key press when all the lights are lit. I should have mentioned that on the oscillators, when all the lights are lit, it randomizes the oscillator wave shape as well. So add in the gain, the mix saturation, where are we? The additional drive, oh, it's already on, it's flashing. That's how we get those really dirty basses. That's rattling the table. That's fabulous, isn't it? Then we've got CV control. We've got LFO 1 and ADSR 1 patched in for both of them. Wow. Yeah, it's just meaty as you get this, isn't it? Let's take the character off. Again, I keep on saying this, but there's so much to play with. Let's put this one into a high pass. So it's pre-patched for filter 1 to go into filter 2, but obviously you can do what you want, like I was doing with bass demo, where I had the separate filters on separate channels. And as we're playing with the envelopes and the next in line, let's take a quick look at them. They are ADSR envelopes, but we have 2 ranges on these. See this little range button here? So it's in fast range at the minute. So nice and snappy. To the slow range. So again, back to the fast range to the slow range. So again, massively flexible. And the last thing in the chain is this reverb. This is a spring reverb. Let's just do this. And as I said earlier, it's got a specific tone because it is a spring reverb. So turning the feedback up, we get a longer reverb. Turn it down. It's not as long, there's not a huge amount in it. You know, you're not getting black hole here, are you? Then this tonal tilt's nice. Getting darker. We'll make it brighter. So you can get really weird, spooky things out of this. Really nice, that, isn't it? It's got a real analog quality to it. Bringing it back down into a more useful range. Try something a little bit higher. Turn that noise off. Nice, but it is a specific character, which again is why I threw this in here. So I've got like a standard nice big lush reverb if I want as well. Again, it just shows how handy it is to have this little Eurorack dock here as well. And I'm not sure if I've shown that. That's what it comes with. I think that was on some of the early shots before I started playing around with it. Anyway, we're not done yet. There's still an awful lot to look at. We've looked at all this bit here, but we haven't looked over this sort of control section or the LFOs yet. And maybe we'll take a look at this quickly. I know I've mentioned it earlier, but just to show you exactly what it does. So we'll control the filter cutoff with it. So filter cutoff in, turn that up. So we've got different modes of the multifunction tool. So at the minute, let's turn it all up. I'm just sending out the 5 volt. Now it's going to be an LFO. And the shape of that LFO is set here with the multi-shape. So let's put it onto a triangle, a ramp, and a square. And the speed is so amount and speed. So let's change it back to that for now. Then we've got an envelope. And the shape of that envelope depends on this multi-shape as well. So that's on a square, and you'll notice that the envelope is on a different shape to the LFO. So you can have different shapes in each. You're not setting it here for all of them. So So that's a different shape. This has then got an attack and a release or decay. Whoops. That's just an attack. And then it sort of holds before it drops, or is that more linear and this one more exponential? Pitch wheel range. So edit pitch wheel range. It's set at it's one semitone, 2 semitones, 5 semitones, something like that. Start off with 1. So a pretty comprehensive little section down there. Now let's take a look at the LFOs. We've sort of seen the LFOs before. We know what they do. Don't want to spend too much time on them. Maybe let's modulate the filter with LFO 1. So where's CV1 in, LFO 1. Oh, actually, it's already pre-patched, isn't it? But we could use another shape. And let's listen to it now. Let's put it into audio rates. So it's in audio rates there. We'll put LFO 1. Let's use the ramp, and we'll put that into channel 3. So that's this one here. Square, triangle. And now let's pitch that with the pitch. So that's the LFO you're listening to. So it's really easy to get 3 oscillators out of this. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2, and oscillator 3. One of those out of either the submix, the noise input, so channel 2, channel 4, or through the preamp. So like I said earlier, you can actually have 5 oscillators playing, including the sub or the noise. We've got FM of the LFOs as well. So let's modulate LFO 1 with LFO 2. Maybe put that in audio rates as well. So we're getting FM tones with the LFOs modulating themselves quite crazy, really. Let's modulate LFO 2 with the pitch as well. Yeah, it's a proper little sonic playground, isn't it? We've not looked at paraphonic, polyphonic and monophonic modes really in much detail, and I've set up a patch here for a polyphonic tone. When you put it into polyphonic mode, the ADSRs trigger on different notes. So ADSR triggers first, then ADSR 2 second, so that it's not paraphonic. So you've actually got 2 envelopes doing things on the different notes. So if we look at the ADSRs in mono mode, they both trigger at the same time. So you could have one for filter and one for the VCA, which is how it's pre-configured for the mono mode. In paraphonic mode, which is this one, again, they both trigger together, but you can play 2 notes if you turn them up. Well, they'll both come off at the same time, so you can't have the 2 notes building in, for example. And in polyphonic mode, you have to patch it to make it truly polyphonic. So here, I'm actually using the 2 LFOs as well on channels 2 and 4. But on channels 1 and 3, you've got oscillators 1 and 2. And because this is split as a dual mixer, like I showed earlier, we can take out 1 and 2 and put them into filter 1, and we can take out 3, 4 and the preamp and put those into filter 2. And then ADSR 1 can be used to modulate the volume of 1, and ADSR 2 the volume of the second one. I'm pointing at the filters there, but it's not actually modulating the filter, it's modulating the volume of what's coming out of channel 1, or the first channel of the dual mixer and the second channel of the dual mixer. So that's what's happening up here. I've got 1 and 2 going into filter 1, I've got 3 and 4 coming into filter 2, And the output of filter 1 normally goes into filter 2, but I've patched it so that it goes into VCA 1. And then we've got a VCA mix here that I've put into the output, because that mixes VCA 1 and VCA 2. VCA 2 has filter 2 in it. VCA 1 now has filter 1 in it. So it sounds quite complex, but actually it's really simple. And then I've just done a little trick here with the LFOs. So pitch 1 and pitch 2 into LFO 1 and LFO 2. And also I'm using the multi-mode down here as an LFO to modulate the pulse width. So if we listen to these, and if we watch these, that's just this one. And then next one, we'll be playing this one. And then I'll bring in the second oscillators, or the LFOs, on both of those as well. And it was tuned when I set it up. And if we put a little envelope on there, you'll hear one builds. Which the tuning hadn't gone out. And that's truly polyphonic because you got a different envelope on each of the voices. And the interesting thing with the polyphonic mode and the paraphonic mode is how it works with the ARP, actually. If you put the ARP on, when we're in the polyphonic and the paraphonic mode, you get slightly different things. For a hold, put it on to transpose. But if I play it, oops, play the ARP, and play it again, you can get different things with the same keys. And that's what I used on that very first intro track. If you look at the lights on the polyphony modes, it's on paraphonic mode. So we're getting a rhythm that you wouldn't get from a standard monosynth. The way the notes are playing isn't just up and down or up. It's alternating between the two oscillators. So you can get nice, unexpected little rhythms out of it. So there's a fair amount of fun to be had in there as well. And I've not mentioned we've got aftertouch, I don't think. It's not polyphonic aftertouch. We've got an aftertouch out here, so you can control stuff with the aftertouch. What else haven't I mentioned? I think that's about it. We do have a sequencer in there. It's just a pretty standard, you know, play the notes, put some rests in, put some holds in, and that's it. But I've not played it yet, so I don't really know how to demo it. But really, I think I've come to the end of the demo. I think I've showed everything I wanted to show. And what I really wanted to show, you know, what's amazed me about this after playing with it for quite some time, is just how nice it is and how flexible. And it covers really nice vintage style tones, like with just that sawtooth and the sub. It just sounded really nice and gorgeous and lush. To really modern style tones as well. So all those things with the distortions and then the rectifier and the warping, you get all sorts of really nice, gnarly tones. So it covers so much ground. So it's a dual synth. So it does the Odyssey type stuff, it does the Minimo type stuff, it does the Pro 1 type stuff, except for you can't mix the waveforms, but it does all of other bits and bobs. But you get the idea, it's got lots and lots in here. It's much more than it looks on the front panel, and once you start digging into it, it really does open itself up to all sorts of, as I said earlier, sonic explorations. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon. I've got patches, samples, tutorials, and other nice little goodies on there. And also do take a look at my starskycarr.com website. Again, patches, samples, free stuff, cheap stuff. And as I say, even if you pick up some of the cheaper packs on the website, it really does all help to support the channel. Just £3 for some 606 samples or whatever. I'm begging. I'll stop now. Okay, thanks very much for staying to the very end, and I will see you next time.